8 luckiest people who survived the impossible.
The plane with Vesna on board exploded at an altitude of 10,000 meters. 27 people on board lost their lives.
Yo, this is why I
Vesna
don't
was
like
trapped by
flying.
debris while falling, counting the last seconds of her life. In this video, I'll tell you about 8 accidents where the victims managed to trick death itself.
Yo, I was literally just talking about me being afraid of flying, and in the first clip of the video is dying in a plane. Great.
As always, viewer discretion is advised. By the way, if Earth spun just a tad faster, air disasters would skyrocket, but the world around would look exceptionally beautiful.
Yo, now when I fucking go on a plane, I'm gonna be thinking, I hope the world don't spin a little bit quicker. I'm gonna be looking at the planet speed now.
These thoughts were sparked by the sponsor of this video, Mova Globes. These globes,
They look like cool globes. I ain't gonna lie though. They're actually pretty cool.
The French Alps, late April 2022. The professional skiing team Les Pautos headed to Meige Mountain, but they didn't choose well-equipped slopes. They opted for the extreme terrain near the La Grave resort. The total vertical drop there is up to 2,300 meters. There are several dangerous descent routes with nearly vertical sections, forested areas, rocks, and glacier crevices.
Oh my God.
And one of those crevices was encountered by a 36-year-old skier from Les Pautos. For some reason, he decided to ascend the slope earlier than the rest of the team and
Hey, have an amazing night, Bama.
make a solo descent. However, as he sped down the slope, he saw a spot where the snow had collapsed into a small pit ahead.
Oh my God.
He tried to swerve to avoid it, but it was too late. The snow on the slope shifted, knocking him off his feet, and within seconds, he found himself in open space, plummeting into a deep, icy crevice. He slid deeper into the crevice until his skis got stuck, miraculously stopping his fall. He was 15 meters deep in a narrow ice fissure, at risk of falling even deeper at any moment.
Holy
And there was no one to help him. The rest of Les Pautos hadn't even reached the summit yet. For over 20 minutes, the skier clung to the icy walls with ice axes and crampons, trying to save himself. Miraculously, he wasn't injured, and his teammates eventually found and rescued him. Glacier crevices can...
Yo, he is so lucky. He is so lucky. I actually do want to go skiing, but if I go skiing, I'm not going to go to like crazy places. I'll go to like, very, standard mountains.
Can be as deep as 45 meters, and there might be no visible signs of such a chasm on the surface. The fact that a member of the French team survived and made it out unscathed after such a shocking fall is incredible luck.
Yo,
While you
that's
can't
so
expect
lucky,
potential
bro.
danger from extreme skiing, the incident involving a resident of Gonzales Coton was completely unexpected. At the end of March 2022, a woman named Candela was waiting for a train when she suddenly felt herself losing consciousness. What happened next was a nightmare. She couldn't keep her balance and fell, her head landing right between 2 moving train cars. Her body then turned parallel to the platform and slipped into a narrow gap. The onlookers at the subway station were horrified. They believed they had witnessed the tragic death of a young woman. But when the train stopped, the passengers rushed to find Candela under the carriages. They unexpectedly pulled her out alive. She regained consciousness and seemed to move quite confidently. When Candela was taken to the hospital, it turned out she had only minor scratches. She didn't remember the horrific incident. She felt herself blacking out, tried to warn the person next to her, and came to as one of those who managed to cheat death.
Wait, how is that even possible? How is that even possible?
Unfortunately, not everyone is so lucky. One day in March 2023, workers at a candy factory in West Reading, Pennsylvania, smelled gas amidst the aroma of chocolate.
What kind of candy is that? That looks like shit, bro. That looks like, bro.
They reported it to their supervisor, but he said only higher-ups could declare an evacuation. So everyone went back to work. Less than 30 minutes later, there was an explosion. Tons of debris, smoke, and flames shot into the air, all that was left of one of the factory buildings. The blast was so powerful that a neighboring building shifted by 120 centimeters. The destruction damaged nearby gas lines, fueling the fire even more. Just seconds before the explosion, factory worker Patricia Borges was going down the stairs. Suddenly, everything shook and she lost her footing. She noticed her arm was on fire just before the floor crumbled like a toy, and Patricia fell into a vat of molten chocolate in the basement.
Okay, no, if you're telling me she survives, there's no way. There's just no way. There's just no way. There's just no way. Bro, that would be boiling hot.
The chocolate softened her fall and extinguished the fire, saving her life.
Wait, how? Yo, wouldn't... Chat, I'm not being funny, but when I like melt chocolate in the microwave for 30 seconds and I take it out and I accidentally put my finger in, it burns really bad. I can't imagine the temperature with that.
Basement. The chocolate softened her fall and extinguished the fire, saving her life. Meanwhile, injured workers lay around the destroyed factory, lucky to have escaped the rubble. When rescuers arrived, Patricia heard their voices and cried out for help. Still, hours passed and no one came to her rescue. Bodies were being pulled from the wreckage. Initially, 2 deaths were reported, but it was later revealed that 7 people had lost their lives in the explosion. The next day, rescue dogs signaled that a human body was nearby. However, no one expected what happened next.
Yo, that's bad on the work for like keeping them to carry on. Since they got the warnings and stuff, you know what I mean? That person went up with a warning.
The brief silence was broken by a muffled cry from beneath the rubble. An exhausted Patricia regained consciousness as the vat she was stuck in started filling with water from the firefighters' hoses. After surviving the explosion, the fire, and half a day under the debris, she was about to drown. Luckily, she was saved just in...
Oh, wait, is that it? 98 melting point of chocolate is 50 degrees, so it would be 50 degrees. So it would be hot, but like, it wouldn't... What, that wouldn't... I thought it would be hotter than that.
Time. Doctors found bruises, burns, a broken collarbone, and fractures in both heels. Despite everything, Patricia survived against all odds.
Mad.
Phineas Gage, on the other hand, had...
Yeah, I know chocolate melts in your fingers, but I thought like a big pot, like an industry, like a, you know, like that big pot of chocolate. I thought that would be a lot hotter.
Had no chance of surviving. He should have passed away, but instead, he made history with the shocking injury he sustained. The story happened in 1848, yet scientists worldwide still study it today. On September 13th, 25-year-old construction worker Phineas was laying railroad tracks in Cavendish, Vermont. He was tamping down explosives into drilled rock holes with a special metal rod. During one of the setups, something went wrong. The explosives detonated prematurely, and the tamping iron rod was driven through Gage's head.
This is mad.
This 6-kilogram rod, over 3 centimeters in diameter and 110 centimeters long, went through his left cheek, behind his eye, pierced his brain, and exited his skull.
How do you survive
However, like in a horror movie, Gage stood up and started talking to his co-workers. They were shocked by the sight, but quickly rushed him to the hospital.
How do you survive that?
There, he horrified the townspeople by chatting with them, despite the hole in his head. He greeted the doctor with, "Here's business enough for you." A few days later, Gage developed a brain infection, and his slim chances of survival dropped to 0. Still, to the amazement of even modern specialists, he recovered, losing his left eye, yet remaining fully functional. However, his personality changed drastically. The once polite Phineas became rude, impolite, and brash. Nevertheless, he lived another 12 years, and his case spurred the development of the now critical field of neurology. The rod and his skull are still preserved in a museum. Other heroes in this video managed to etch their names in history while still alive. On March 12, 2006, over a dozen tornadoes formed above the Ozark Plateau in Missouri. Residents were urged to take shelter, but 19-year-old Matt Suter, his grandmother, and his uncle continued watching TV in their mobile home. Meanwhile, one of the tornadoes accelerated to 217 kilometers per hour, capable of causing considerable damage. When the tornado approached the Suters' trailer, they had no chance. Matt heard a wild roar, like 10 jet fighters coming at them. Then, the tornado came into view, bombarding their mobile home with debris picked up along the way. The absolute nightmare began seconds later. The powerful force ripped the trailer door off, tore away the roof, and then demolished the home entirely. The vortex sucked up the trailer's debris and belongings, and suddenly, it pulled in Matt. He screamed, felt a blow, and everything went dark. The tornado's debris pile buried Matt's grandmother and uncle, but they survived with minor injuries. They saw Matt get sucked into the vortex, so fearing the worst, they went searching for his body.
Fuck.
Meanwhile, Matt's suitor regained consciousness in the middle of a field, disoriented but unharmed. The only injury he sustained was a bump on the head from a lamp in the trailer. Running to his friend's house for help, Matt didn't yet know that his relatives had survived and that he had set a world record. It turned out that Suter entered the Guinness Book of World Records as the person thrown the farthest by a tornado and survived.
No way.
Matt still holds the record at 398 meters. Getting caught in the heart of a tornado and living to tell the tale is nothing short of a miracle. In 1925, the deadliest tornado year in U.S. history, tornadoes claimed the lives of 794 people. So, Matt Suter definitely fooled death itself. 31-year-old Casey Wagner, on the other hand, tricked death twice. At the end of October 2013, he attended a popular off-road race in St. Joe, Texas. However, the event was interrupted by a severe thunderstorm, and Casey took shelter under a small tree. Suddenly, the very thing his mother had warned him about since childhood happened.
Lightning.
Casey saw sparks flying from the tree trunk. Then, a powerful flash blinded him, and an unseen force knocked him to the ground. He realized he had been struck by lightning, yet before he hit the ground, a second bolt struck him. Wagner felt the electricity surge through him, and it felt like his thumb was being ripped off. He was convinced he was dying and cried out for help with his last ounce of strength. A nurse who was on duty at the race rushed to his side and stayed with him until the ambulance arrived. To the doctor's surprise, Casey Wagner was practically unharmed. Despite the electricity traveling through his body from his right leg to his left arm, he only suffered muscle pain, shortness of breath, tremors, and tingling in his limbs. This case is truly...
Yo, if I was him, I definitely would have to try out some, like, I don't know, some superpower things. Bro, if I got hit twice by lightning, I would have to try some, some special movements. I'd figure out powers after that.
Astonishing. First, the odds of being struck by lightning in the U.S. in a given year are about 1 in 750,000. Yet Casey got hit twice in a row. Second, the average lightning bolt carries around 300 million volts, while a standard outlet has a maximum of 240 volts.
Holy shit.
Each year,
How do you even
400
survive
people
that?
worldwide get electrocuted at home, and half of them lose their lives. So, what are the chances of surviving a double lightning strike? I'd say about the same as surviving a fall from nearly a kilometer high. On January 25th, Joe and Mackenzie Wethington arrived in Chickasha, Oklahoma. This was a special day for them because Mackenzie was celebrating her 16th birthday, and her dad had arranged to fulfill her wildest dream, a parachute jump. Joe gave written consent and planned to jump with Mackenzie. The Wethingtons planned to perform a static line jump, which means the parachute opens automatically. Before taking to the skies, they had to undergo a 7-hour training session. Only when the instructors were sure that Joe and Mackenzie had learned all the safety rules were they cleared for the jump. Excited and a bit nervous, Joe and Mackenzie took a selfie and then boarded the plane. Joe jumped first so he could watch his daughter make her dream come true.
No, this is
when
horrible.
Joe was already on the ground, the plane reached just over 900 meters and Mackenzie jumped. However, Joe's joy quickly turned to horror as he saw something was wrong. Mackenzie's parachute opened, but then spiraled out of control. Her descent sped up, and Joe could only watch helplessly as his daughter plummeted toward the ground. Medical personnel rushed to Mackenzie and were astonished to find that she was still breathing. She was rushed to the hospital, where they discovered multiple broken ribs, a fractured shoulder blade, a lumbar spine fracture, a pelvic fracture, and severe liver damage. The doctor's prognosis was grim. They didn't expect her to survive. However, Mackenzie became a medical miracle, not only surviving, but also bravely undergoing rehabilitation. She became a local hero, inspiring people with her incredible story. If you think it couldn't get more...
Yo, how do you survive that, bro? Yo, this is why I would never do anything like skydiving. Nah, jumping out a plane, bro. I'm scared as it is being in the plane. Jumping out of it? Nah.
Unbelievable. Let me tell you about the story of a flight attendant, Vesna Volovich, mentioned at the very beginning of this video. In 1972, Vesna Volovich worked for Yugoslavia's national airline. On January 26th, Flight 367 took off from Stockholm to Belgrade, now the capital of Serbia. During a stopover, a backup crew, including Vesna, boarded the plane. Due to an airline error, she was on this flight instead of her scheduled one. So, Flight 367, with Volovich on board, took off from Denmark, but never reached its next stop. 46 minutes after takeoff, the plane exploded over what was then Czechoslovakia. 27 passengers and crew were ejected from the cabin at an altitude of 10,000 meters, almost instantly perishing from lack of oxygen and temperatures plunging to minus 50 degrees Celsius.
Bro, why did that explode? Why did it explode, bro? Yo, I should not be watching this.
Yes. However, Vesna Volovich was pinned by a food cart in the tail section of the fuselage, which plummeted to the ground at breakneck speed. What happened next seems utterly unreal. The piece of the plane with Vesna crashed into a forested area where the trees helped slow the fall. Deep snow further cushioned the impact, and the fuselage landed at an angle that left Vesna on the surface. The plane was reduced to wreckage, and among the debris, a local villager found Vesna alive. And that's not all. The villager was a former army medic who provided her with critical first aid. Had any detail been different, Vesna likely would not have survived. Indeed, her condition was dire. Volovich had a fractured skull, several broken ribs, 3 broken vertebrae, a broken pelvis, and both legs were shattered. She was paralyzed from the waist down and spent the next 27 days in a coma. Yet, against all odds, she regained consciousness. After 16 months in the hospital and extensive rehabilitation, she could walk again. Vesna became a global sensation, earning a place in the Guinness World Records for the highest fall survived without a parachute.
What?
It's worth noting that the explosion on Flight 367 was caused by a bomb.
Oh, so it was a terrorist attack? A bomb did it? Man, that's crazy, bro.
So Vesna Volovich also survived a terrorist attack. Encountering such situations is extraordinarily rare, but surviving them is a true miracle. I was amazed to find that miracles happen often enough to create a sequel to this video.
That is crazy, bro. She survived that. A terrorist attack on a plane, bro, and she was still on it when it crashed and survived.